The Ford government making a big investment in biomass here in the Northwest. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The province has announced more than $9 million to support biomass projects in this region. The Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry confirmed the funding this morning at the Thunder Bay Pulp and Paper Mill. Lee Noonan joins us in studio with the details. Lee.
Thank you, Ryan. Minister Graydon Smith announced funding for a variety of projects throughout the region, including $5 million for Thunder Bay Pulp and Paper to upgrade their electrical systems. Ontario's Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, Graydon Smith, was joined in Thunder Bay by MPP Kevin Holland for the announcement of $9.4 million in funding for 14 biomass projects around the Northwest.
Mill byproducts and underutilized forest biofiber are used in everything from food additives to building materials. Forest biomass also has many emerging uses. I'm very excited about them. Renewable natural gas, bioplastics, and hydrogen. Responsible alternatives to carbon-intensive products.
The Thunder Bay Pulp and Paper Mill is receiving more than half the funding, $5 million to upgrade the mill's power grids, which are already powered by biomass. President Kent Ramsey says the new unified grid will provide a base for many more projects to come.
So it allows us to realize more production, more use of biomass, more green electric power, and to also improve the reliability and the performance of the facility's electrical systems.
In all, there are 7 Thunder Bay-based organizations receiving funding for biomass projects. Mayor Ken Boshkoff says the investment here signals a belief in the future of the area.
This kind of investment in our industrial base is part of our resurgence as a community and part of Northwestern Ontario's strength.
The remaining funding will go to organizations and First Nations throughout the region, including nearly $1.3 million to White Sand First Nation to support the construction of a wood pellet plant near Armstrong. Smith credits local communities and industry stakeholders with helping to drive the government's plan for forestry in the province.
You helped us develop this roadmap to growth and prosperity. You're helping us put it into action. We're investing in Ontario together. The future of the forest sector is bright, and if we work together, we'll be unstoppable here in Ontario.
Lee Noonan, TBT News.
In the wake of the devastating fire that leveled a school in Admatung First Nation, Indigenous Services Minister Patty Hajdu says she can't commit to a timeline to rebuild the school or set up short-term alternatives, but she promises that her government won't slow things down. The John C. Yesno Education Centre went up in flames early Thursday morning, completely destroying the building. It's the only school in the remote community, leaving roughly 300 students without a place to go to class. Providing education for First Nations is a federal responsibility, but Hajdu says she can't act until Admatung leaders have signed off on a plan. After that, building a new school or even setting up temporary structures will be subject to the realities of construction and logistics in the remote north.
In terms of how the construction season will unfold with the community being so far away and when those steps might be taken, those things, of course, will be determined as we get closer down the line. I know everyone wants to do this as quickly as possible, and the chief has my word that the department will be there to make sure that it isn't the government of Canada that is in any way delaying the replacement of that school. We're all united in that this is an utmost emergency and an urgent priority.
Hajdu says her ministry will fast-track any plan the First Nation puts forward. She adds there is emergency funding available to help the First Nation find human resources to develop both short-term and long-term education plans quickly if the community requests it. 2 people charged with a murder in the Limbrick Street area nearly 3 years ago have pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter. Thunder Bay Police responded to reports of an assault during the early morning hours of April 30th, 2021. Officers found an injured male who was later identified as 18-year-old Liam Slipperjack. He was transported to hospital and died 2 days later. 21-year-old Desmond Kiwekapau and a youth who was 17 years old at the time recently pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Kiwekapau was sentenced to just under 5.5 years in prison. With credit for time served, he'll be behind bars for another 1.5 years. He was also sentenced to an extra 4 months, though, related to 4 counts of assaulting corrections officers while in custody. The youth will be sentenced later this year. Some local high school students are getting registered mail at their door, urging them to catch up on routine vaccines that they've missed. The notices say if they don't, they could be suspended from class. Riley McManus has the details.
It's just something that we're working through to try to make sure that kids get what they need and we reduce as much disruption as possible.
The Thunder Bay District Health Unit has begun mailing out potential suspension orders for high school students in the district to inform those who may not be aware that they are not up to date on their vaccine records. The completion window is February 12th to either get the missed doses or risk school suspension as per the Immunization of School Pupils Act.
I will note that most of the time it never comes to that.
Dr. Janet DeMille says exemptions can be made for medical, conscience, or religious beliefs. The form can also be found online on the Health Unit's website. DeMille goes on to explain what kind of vaccines may be required.
The Immunization Schools Pupils Act covers 9 designated diseases. That's things like diphtheria, polio, tetanus, measles, mumps, rubella, whooping cough or pertussis, and certain type of bacterial meningitis called meningococcal.
Lakehead Board Superintendent Heather Harris provides details on how the process works if students do not meet the February 12th deadline.
So if families have received a notification from the health unit that their child is missing information or is maybe behind on some vaccines, they would contact the health unit to determine next steps, whether that's just providing paperwork or whether that is going through an exemption process or going in to receive the vaccinations. And then once that's complete, the school would get a notification from the health unit and the child could return to school.
Any questions or concerns can be directed directly to the health unit or their website, with Dr. DeMille adding that there are a lot of appointments available for students during the day, evenings, and even on weekends. Riley McManus, TBT News.
The Ontario government is planning a major refurbishment of a nuclear power station just east of Toronto. The Pickering plant was set to be shut down in 2025, but today the Ford government unveiled a multi-billion-dollar plan to extend the life of the plant by another 30 years. Siobhan Morris has those details.
This nuclear plant on the edge of Lake Ontario in Pickering provides 14% of the province's electricity. The government wants to keep it up, planning to refurbish 4 reactors that date back to the mid-'80s.
Okay, so that's a hit. That's good news.
A federal regulator still needs to sign off, but if it goes ahead,
the station will produce 2,000 megawatts of safe, reliable, and clean electricity. That's enough to power 2 million homes.
A freshened source of power for a new generation. This is a long-term project. The refurbishment likely wouldn't be done until the mid-2030s.
If you go down Brock Road, you'll see all the spin-off jobs, the supply chain jobs that will maintain and grow.
As many as 11,000 jobs are expected through the rebuild.
The provincial government will spend $2 billion this year to get the refurbishment project going. As for the final price tag, well, we'll have to wait a while for that.
It would be irresponsible at this point in time to put a number out there.
With much of the planning work still to do, the government is resisting calls to diversify our energy sources and to lean harder on wind and solar.
This is the plan that makes sense. It's as simple as that.
But opponents insist Ontario is time traveling with energy policy.
It's the equivalent of deciding to repair my dad's old Betamax VHS instead of getting a Netflix subscription.
He points to research by the International Energy Agency.
They say that wind and solar are the way of the future. They say, solar has replaced coal as the king of the electricity system.
And investing in nuclear, opponents say, will have everyday consequences.
Rebuilding the Pickering nuclear station will push our electricity rates up even higher. And that doesn't make sense when now wind and solar is our lowest cost source of new electricity supply.
And can be ready for service in a year or two.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris reporting. The president of the Rainbow Collective wants city police to arrest the person responsible for vandalizing pride signs at a Northside home and charge the culprit with a hate crime. The incident was caught on surveillance video Sunday evening. It happened on Algonquin Avenue at the corner of Windsor Street. The footage shows a person come up the walkway and tear apart a pride flag on the railing. They then try to rip a Pride Lives Here sign out of the ground before stepping on it and another sign before leaving the premises. The Rainbow Collective's Jason Veltri says that home has been vandalized 5 times and he wants police to find out who did it.
You know, this is the continuation of the fear that the 2S LGBTQIA community is feeling in Thunder Bay. You know, it's disheartening, it's upsetting to see that somebody would find a polyester flag and a plastic sign so hurtful that they would walk onto someone's private property and destroy it.
Veltri and his group considers this a hate crime, but he notes the justice system tends to categorize it simply as mischief. He's hoping Canada's hate crime laws will be modernized to include these type of incidents. A city police spokesperson says they're looking into the video and checking to see if the incident was reported to police. Some pet owners are worried about the proposed indoor turf facility near the community auditorium. The city has confirmed the project may impact part of the off-leash dog park on Winnipeg Avenue. The turf facility open house last week revealed a draft plan that showed the 1.4-acre dog park could be reduced to make way for a bigger parking lot. Dog owner Mike Shannon notes the park is one of only 2 fenced dog parks in the city and says it shouldn't be made any smaller. He's put together a petition to City Council emphasizing how important the dog park is to the community. He's collected more than 60 signatures so far. Shannon says he wants Council to understand what downsizing the park will mean for users.
I guess it will become much more congested during busy times, and also the dogs are just going to have a lot less room in which to run. And, you know, so that would be a real shame. I think this is, like I say, a really much used facility, and, you know, people really value it. It's, I think, a really good asset to the community.
City Engineering Director Kayla Dixon sent an email to TBT News saying the dog park will remain where it is, but, quote, if additional parking requirements are identified, the dog park may be reduced in size to extend parking along Winnipeg Avenue. A new local fitness center has partnered with an organization that supports Thunder Bay youth. The Planet Fitness in the Thunder Center will work to help out the local Boys and Girls Club and has already given a donation. Vasilios Bellows reports.
It's a new partnership to bulk up a local organization that benefits kids across Thunder Bay.
To choose the Boys and Girls Club is a very positive thing for us.
Thunder Bay's first Planet Fitness opened up on Fort William Road and held a ribbon-cutting ceremony to mark the occasion. Part of the event featured the establishment of a partnership between the gym and the Thunder Bay Boys and Girls Club, including an initial $2,500 donation. Community Investment Manager Rudy Petrillo says it's a partnership Planet Fitness has established in many other communities and will extend beyond the monetary donation.
Boys and Girls Club, they have local initiatives where they need sponsors, they need local community support, and we're happy to be there moving forwards. Opportunities for us to get back into the local community, and we're very excited to be part of that, whether that's monetary sponsorships, having staff on site to help out Boys and Girls Club, and or just going to Boys and Girls Club events in the near future.
A goal of Planet Fitness is to be what it calls a judgment-free zone to ensure workout veterans and those new to gyms are comfortable in the setting.
And how much can you bench press, Albert?
In my peak, about 325.
And one of those who claims to be a fitness veteran and says he was once able to bench more than 300 pounds is Boys and Girls Club CEO Albert Aiello. He stresses the importance of this kind of partnership for the organization.
It takes a village to raise a child, and the more partners you can get and more people in your village, the better. Again, Thunder Bay has always had a giant heart, a very giving community. And again, just somebody new in town.
For those who aren't quite yet ready to sign up for a gym membership, much like myself, Planet Fitness does sell hats, which will give people the impression that I actually work out. But for those who are ready to get a little more fit, Planet Fitness is offering their classic or black card memberships with sign up available in person or on their website. Vasilios Bellows, TBT News.
A local legend in the antique car community has passed away. Russ Wong restored more than 100 classic vehicles over the years and recently donated dozens of them to the Oliver Papoonge Heritage Park on Highway 61. Wong had a dream 20 years ago to have a place to showcase his vintage vehicles to the public. He worked with the municipality of Oliver Papoonge on the concept, which faced many obstacles. The project finally received provincial funding a few years ago, and Russ's Garage opened its doors at the Heritage Park in the summer of 2022. Oliver Papoonge Mayor Lucy Kloosterhuis says Wonzik was a quiet man who was always willing to share his knowledge and always had a story about every rusted-out vehicle he restored to pristine condition. Kloosterhuis says she's very glad they were able to open Russ's Garage while he was still alive. Wonzik was 79 years old. Okay, well, let's turn our attention to weather now. Haley, another very warm day. I feel like we've essentially been saying the same thing for about a week now. Not a lot of change.
Yeah, no, I feel like I should basically be hot weather Haley at this point because it is extremely above seasonal still. Our high today being 2 degrees and our low being 1, so still above the freezing mark. And when we hit our high today, it was around 1 p.m., so we had hardly any fluctuation during the day, and it was cloudy gray skies as we've been seeing. As we take a look into the region, Red Lake had a fairly similar day today with a high of 2 as well. They're now sitting at 0, and they were under partly cloudy to cloudy skies throughout the day, partly cloudy at this hour. Both Kenora and Fort Frances are at 1 degree right now. Fort Frances under cloudy skies, Kenora experiencing a misty day. In Sioux Lookout, they had some light snow in the morning, which did clear out, and now it's more cloudy. They're at -1. Upsala at -2, Atikokan at -1. Then we have a string of zeros in Armstrong, Nipigon, and Marathon. Greenstone experiencing light snow here and there at -2. And then as we look over to Sault Ste. Marie and Wawa, they're both at 1 under cloudy skies. For Thunder Bay tonight, we will be dropping down to -8, so definitely colder than last night, but still not seasonal. Last night we were only around 0 and 1 degree, so this is a significant drop considering. Wind chill -10, under cloudy to partly cloudy skies. Now, although we're getting a little colder tonight, Ryan, tomorrow is looking to be even more amazingly warm.
Okay, so hot weather Haley strikes again.
Exactly.
You gotta watch. You never know which nicknames are gonna stick. Okay, thanks a lot, Haley. Well, the federal government is delaying the expansion in medically assisted deaths. We'll have details on that and more when your news hour continues after the break.
I think that that there's very clear that mental suffering and physical suffering have equivalency. The question here is a state of readiness.